All right. That was really intense, like in a counseling session, or like what is that? Like on some kind of retreat. Something amazing is going to happen right now, and then nothing happens. Fantastic. I might leave this in. This may be extra stuff. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Burgundy. I'm Lauren. And today, so this is our brand new format for Yoga Rebels, and we're going to be talking about, basically the format is we're going to be talking about something yoga related, and then we're going to tie it in with something nerd related. And I guess we kind of wanted to do that. I don't know, we never really talked about why we wanted to do that, but I think that was kind of what we were thinking in the first place initially with the whole Yoga Rebels thing, is that just even in the name, we're kind of combining the two things, or in the logo, we're combining the two things. Yeah. So that's why we decided to do a podcast at all, is to kind of think about like being a yoga nerd and then being an other thing nerd, sci-fi and all the other things. Yeah. Yeah. And perhaps putting it into like a nerd thing, into the nerd sphere, might make it a little bit more understandable. Because I don't know, some of the stuff it makes you think. Mm-hmm. So today we're going to talk about Aparigraha, which one translation of it kind of is non-attachment. Mm-hmm. And so this is one of the yamas, right? It depends. It depends, because if you look, when we were looking into it, it was listed as a different word for some of them. Right, yeah. Yeah, so like in talking about non-attachment as so non-attachment is in yoga, it's also in Buddhism. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it can be applied in a lot of different ways. Mm-hmm. So for example, in my practice of asana, trying not to get connected to like the outcome of the pose. Like I'm supposed to nail this pose and be beautiful in it. Right. So that's one of the things that I don't know that I struggle with it, but that's one of the things that I focus on with that. Right, in Buddhism it might be like the non-clinging, so any kind of clinging to an idea, clinging to a certain, if it's in yoga practice, like you said, a certain shape. Maybe you have an idea, an attachment to what the outcome is, so being attached to a specific outcome. So if you go to a yoga class and your outcome is to feel amazing afterwards, that's an okay thing to think about. I mean, that's a good intention, but if that is your attachment throughout the whole thing, is that I must feel amazing throughout the whole thing, and then you have moments where you're like, this sucks, then I must be doing it wrong. Yeah, I'm doing it wrong. Yeah. Now I'm hurting. Now the whole attachment has brought you to a place that you didn't want to go. Yeah, and I think that, and you can apply that to a lot of different aspects of yoga. I mean, even yoga in general. I mean, because if you're following like the 8 limbs of yoga, Ashtanga, then isn't the outcome enlightenment? Right. I mean, that's kind of what we learn with the 8 limbs is you're doing all this stuff to prepare your body, mind, and spirit, and then breathing and then moving so that you can sit forever and gain enlightenment. Right. But like, first of all, I mean, whose definition of enlightenment are we talking about? Right. And who gets to say, oh, you're enlightened? Right. Good job. And then are you done? Are you done forever? Right. Do you become enlightened? Right. Or if you're going along with Buddhism, do you then share that knowledge with other people? Do you become a bodhisattva and you hear all of the sufferings of the world? Right. Which I feel like that's a lot of pressure. I don't know if I want to do it. I don't know if I want to be enlightened anymore. Never mind. Can you give that back? Like, I'm done with this now. Thanks. I'm going to go back to unenlightened. I didn't like it, so you can have it back. Right. But I think also with like the physical not just how you feel in a pose or how you feel in a pranayama, in a breath or something like that, but also, I mean, as a female, so how I look in my clothes, or like, am I doing the whole yoga thing right? Do I have like the incense, and I've got the malavi done, and I'm not knocking it, but
that's a good point.
You know, am I doing the things?
Yes, there's definitely a way of looking like a yoga teacher that I think everybody has in their head. It might be the same thing, it might be a different thing, but that's kind of a secret, I think, of being a yoga teacher that maybe not everybody knows. Or if you are a yoga teacher, maybe you don't realize other people are doing it, is that I think we all, to a certain degree, worry about appearing in the right way to be a yoga teacher, and that can go with the body image thing. I have totally fallen victim to that. But the same thing, it's like, and especially for you as a studio owner, I'm sure it's like, oh God, like, I need this to look like what people think of when they think of a yoga studio. Right. So what things about me, what things about, you know, how I have this set up, do I need to feel attached to so that it looks like yoga? Yeah. It's like, who even decided that? Who even decided what a yoga teacher looks like? So why bother getting attached to what a yoga teacher looks like? I mean, it took me a long time to get to that point. I used to wear what I thought I was supposed to wear, and then I thought, I don't feel good, I don't feel comfortable. I can't afford the clothes. We've talked about the clothes probably in most podcasts.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, so what I'm wearing right now, I'm actually wearing, like, I decided that I actually wanted to start wearing things that weren't technically considered yoga pants. So these nice stretchy, these are my hiking pants, but they're stretchy and not believable. Of course they're believable.
I believe they're pants.
They are pants. They're breathable. And you know, you can roll them and hook them on different levels and whatever. And the band, the waistband doesn't hurt. So like sometimes, like, I've tried to do yoga in different kinds of pants that have zippers, because that's my definition of pants, is something with zippers.
Yeah.
Like I'm wearing real pants as opposed to yoga pants.
Oh, totally. Real pants definitely have zippers and a button.
Yeah, yeah. And so, but these feel comfortable all around. And so it's like, can I still be a yoga teacher? Can I still be doing yoga right wearing these pants? And as a matter of fact, yes. And I've taught several classes wearing these pants, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah, that was a tough one for me. Even just switching from what is typically seen as a yoga shirt to shirts I'm comfortable in, like I'm wearing a Wu-Tang Clan t-shirt.
Right.
That's what I'm comfortable in. Yeah, and to be able to feel comfortable in what you like, I think can change how you teach or approach class too. So if you feel comfortable, if you feel confident. I think the first time I started kind of deviating into that was when I showed up wearing a Star Wars tank top. It was after, let's see, I think it was after Rogue One. After I saw Rogue One in the theater for the first time. It was like a Friday night I saw it, and then I was teaching Saturday morning. I was like, I'm wearing my Star Wars tank top that I don't normally wear to yoga, because that's not a yoga thing. And I wore it, and I got all these different compliments, and it brought up, you know, like the whole Star Wars thing with students, and I was like, oh, wait, like, now they're getting to know me, like actually me, and that's really cool, and I just kind of never looked back.
Yeah.
And I just, like, my attachment to how a yoga teacher should look was taking a piece of myself away.
Yes. That's an interesting point.
It's such a bummer.
Yeah. One of the things that I learned over the years of practicing, this is before becoming a teacher, was I do not like it's not a racerback necessarily, but there's a type of shirt that comes together at the base of my spine, or not the base of my spine, the base of my neck, and when I'm in shoulder stand, my vertebrae press on that material. So I'm actually really sensitive. Today has been all about how much of a diva I am about things.
Yeah, like my socks have a texture.
Yes,
and the shirt is touching me.
So I found out I am really sensitive. I did find out that, like, there was a fancy, and I feel bad, but my cousin's wife bought me this really fancy, expensive shirt, and I can't wear it because I love shoulder stand and I don't use this is a terrible bit, I can't use a blanket. A blanket actually causes a migraine for me in shoulder stand because it presses on my neck in a certain way. And so I have to go without a blanket. And anyway, that was a really long story about my shirt. So I had to not be attached to that really nice shirt.
Yeah. Or the blanket.
Or yes.
Everyone's using a blanket. You're going to use a blanket. Yeah.
I do, when I teach though, I'm like, all right, I'm supposed to tell you to use a blanket because that's safe for your cervical vertebrae.
Yeah.
However, I can't use one because it causes a migraine.
Right.
So you just go with what feels good.
Right. And that's, I mean, I think that too is a really important piece too. Doing what works for you or doing what feels good, because Aparigraha can all just go back to our thoughts, and not necessarily our thoughts just specific about yoga, but about everything. So getting attached to a certain thought about who we are, so labeling ourselves a certain way, I think is usually not great, because one of the things that we all do now is we ask you, what do you do?
Yeah.
And when people ask, what do you do? They mean, what job do you do? So we've all become attached to the idea of, like going back to the yoga teacher thing, we've all become attached to our identities as whatever fill in the blank job you do. Right. And that attachment can be really stifling. The attachment of being or looking like a yoga teacher, or I have to be like a yoga teacher, or whatever the thing is, feeling that attachment and then allowing others to put their attachment on you is really stifling for your own creativity and for your own personality and what you want to do.
And can you imagine what it would be like to be the newest doctor? That's kind of my lead-in, so you perfectly said that. Like, can you imagine, so the newest doctor in Doctor Who is a female.
Right.
And so there was all this discussion about how can she be the doctors that we've known and all of that, like, and we were talking before recording about what she wears and how she's acting and how she's not like the others and how she's not David Tennant. Yeah. But none of them are.
No one can be David Tennant, and we all miss him very much, but we learned to move on with Matt Smith, and that's kind of where I ended, because I wasn't super into
Yeah, it took me a while. Like, I appreciate Peter Capaldi for his own things. I mean, truly, like, the whole practice of non-attachment, the first beginning of the new season with the new doctor, I'm like, I'm not gonna like him.
I hate him already.
He's not David Tennant. I don't care.
Yep.
And then by the end, I'm like, well, maybe he's okay.
Yeah. Then by the end, you're just totally smitten with whatever's going on. Yeah.
Right. But it is interesting how, like, talking sort of again about a little bit of attachment when the new doctor comes in to their own form, how there are little bits maybe of other doctors. Right. They still retain a little bit, but then they get their own.
Right. And they should. But that is a really good way to look at it, because I know for me, David Tennant, when he went away and Matt Smith came along, I had a wall up because I felt like, this is a doctor. David Tennant is the doctor. Right. He is the doctor, and that's just how it is. And so for the first few episodes of the Matt Smith doctor, I was just completely attached to the David Tennant doctor, and no matter what he did, I was like, that's not on
He's not doing it right.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and I sort of as an argument about defending all of this as far as, you know, the new doctors or whatever, arguably David Tennant's doctor, like, I've never had so much emotion. He and Rose and all of that, and like, I mean, I've cried with some of the episodes from the new doctor,
right?
But like I was sobbing. There were several episodes that I was sobbing with David Tennant.
Right. Anytime anything happened with him and Rose, and maybe she can't get to him for some reason, just their relationship was so intense.
Yeah.
That it was really hard to mentally let go of that and then move on.
The beach scene when she's like, she starts to say, I love you, and then he's like, and everybody's like, oh!
Yeah.
That was really hard. It was really, really hard. But then also, like, when he went to to transition though. When he was dying, like he's like, I don't want to go. And
that was awful.
Oh God. Yeah. That was really emotional. So it's interesting because in the discussion about non-attachment, it's our attachment to him or her. I'm trying to get attached to the new doctor.
Yeah.
But then also that version of the doctor being attached to their own version as well.
Yes.
Which is fascinating, like him not wanting to go and then figuring themselves out in their new form.
Right.
It is really fascinating, that whole practice of it.
And it's a really interesting premise for anything, really. I'm still kind of trying to figure out how I feel about the new doctor and the fact that they have her struggling so much with her identity. I don't feel great about that. That could be my attachment to the others, where they, maybe they had a very short window and then boom, they've figured out who they are. They're moving right into it. And she's kind of like, oh, I don't know what anything is. Who knows? What's this? She didn't remember what her tongue was. And that kind of feels a little off for me. I'm kind of not sure where I'm at with her.
And I wonder, I think I'm being super sensitive because I want all female characters to be super strong female characters.
Yes, maybe let's talk about that.
Yeah, because here's the other thing. So
I do too.
As a female, though, one of the things I know that I struggle with being a female these days right now is that I do have a lot of vulnerability. And so what's wrong with me being questioning and trying to figure things out or whatever? Do I ever hop into any situation and know exactly what the hell's going on? Rarely.
And does anybody?
Yeah, and isn't it okay to be like, what is this?
Right. I think we've taken a really sharp turn in an effort to have visibility in movies and pop culture and TV, to have more women represented, because my God, we're a little over half of the population.
I think 52% now.
I was reading even in terms of purchasing of anything. If we're just going to talk capitalism, women are the majority of humans in the United States buying the thing.
Because we got jobs now.
But the advertising is still heavily towards men.
Yeah.
So as these things happen, we want the visibility, and then when movies come out like Wonder Woman or Captain Marvel or all these things, I personally get very attached to a specific outcome where I need them just for that sake of visibility and to almost undo all of the wrongs of the last, since forever, since movies and TV and books have existed. I need them to not be vulnerable, or I need them to not worry about falling in love with a man and then, with Wonder Woman, for example, I was like, yes, this is great. She's so strong, she's powerful. And then she falls in love and she gets kind of wishy-washy, and I had such an attachment to her being completely non-vulnerable, not vulnerable at all, just strong, empowered, brave, smart through the whole thing. And then just the hint of weakness, I felt like it just ruined it for me in that moment. I needed her so badly to be, rather than human, I needed her to be, she is superhuman, but I needed her to be so over the top, perfect in every way, to kind of make up for that.
Right. Which isn't realistic.
It's not realistic. But it's an attachment that I've created that I'm having a really hard time letting go of.
I need these women in movies to be better than me somehow.
Yes. Better than everybody.
Yeah, which that's unrealistic, and I think it's unfair for those characters, because I think some of the things so let's switch it to the male superheroes. I love it when I saw. So I like it when Thor has problems.
Things go
when
she
slaps him. Yeah, she slaps Thor and all these things. And in Superman, Christopher Reeve Superman, I really liked it when he showed vulnerability and when he was broken.
Right, and I think that piece is really important, because I think the whole point of that was to show the broad range of just being human and his experience as being like a human. And I think it's really easy to forget that piece because for so long, male characters have, at least in more of the sci-fi action adventure realm of like superheroes, things like that, they don't necessarily have those same vulnerabilities. They don't have to worry about the love interest, and there's usually a love interest, but the love interest is maybe pining for them. They're not sitting around worrying about where the love interest is. They're out being strong and powerful and brave.
Right.
And we need that balance, but at the same time, it's not fair to put those attachments on all of these different things. Like I'm still, like I was saying before we started the video, that I was really struggling with this new iteration of the Doctor because she, at least in the first episode, is apologizing constantly. She apologizes to everybody, and that's something that we're kind of like all trying, as women, trying not to do so much, is apologize just for existing, because it's something that is an actual problem.
But maybe if you see somebody else doing it, you're like, oh my God, that's annoying, and then you're like, maybe I should stop doing that.
And that's kind of how I got to that point where I started, I don't know, because I know for myself, if I bump into, God, even if I bump into an inanimate object, I'm likely to be like, sorry chair, sorry for existing. Right, and I just switched it to excuse me, which is kind of like a little better, kind of not. Yes, but it really bothered me that she was apologizing so much to everybody for things that were out of her control. She apologized to everyone involved for what was happening, and that felt unfair to me.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. I felt like that was unnecessary. I felt like it was unnecessary to make a big thing out of like her picking out her outfit. Mm-hmm. I needed her to just bust right in there like any other doctor and already have her outfit, already have like some kind of like cool power suit or something.
But Matt Smith did spend some time figuring out which hat he was wearing.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's about it.
He had a bow tie like right off the bat, didn't he?
Yes.
I think the bow tie
and then like telling us like bow ties are cool, so let's stop the conversation about the bow tie.
Yeah, I mean, cool hair, like the hair was right off the bat.
Yeah.
She had to find her own clothes. Since when does that happen? They had to take her shopping.
Right.
Why?
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
They normally, when they regenerate, they have an outfit. Like David Tennant had the Chuck Taylors.
Yeah, how does that even happen? I mean, should I be naked?
Right. Like Terminator style.
Yes, exactly.
Like a Terminator, and then you have to go into a bar and you have to ask for their clothes, their boots, and their motorcycle.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So when it comes to non-attachment, I think it's fascinating when you delve into. So we've talked about gender roles. We've talked about like our our favorite beloved characters changing, or like all of these things. And I think above all, like when it comes to these kinds of things in movies, first of all, it creates a discussion, which I love. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what I love about these sort of nerd movies, which are, I think, mostly sci-fi.
Yeah.
Sci-fi and fantasy kind of things.
Sci-fi fantasy, some action-y stuff.
Yeah, because I think that it's a reflection of who we are.
Right.
And I think it's a nice challenge of, well, who do you think you are? Who do you want to be?
Right.
All of these questions.
And when you let go of that attachment, you have so much more freedom. And that's, I think, usually ends up being the message with a lot of movies where maybe there's a character who's struggling in some way to figure out who they are. Like even going back to like Harry Potter.
Yeah.
To discover, you have the specific attachment to who you are, and then to find that that's not who you are at all. Right. And to just be able to be free to take the direction you want to take.
And in him, I mean, his challenge, he's got a lot of challenges, obviously, but he was born into, literally, I mean, the whole thing happened when he was a baby. People knew him before he really even knew himself. Mm-hmm. And trying to, that balance of, who do people expect me to be?
Right.
Who am I? Who should I be? Who do I want to be? I mean, we all go through that.
Right. Right, and for him, people had an attachment to who he was going to be.
You must be amazing.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. Right. And I think that's a tough thing to let go of for a lot of people. I think even kind of back to gender roles, there are still a lot of mostly guys out there who kind of have a hard time with women who are nerds, who are into sci-fi. Go on the internet, read any comment section for any sci-fi or fantasy movie with a female lead.
Oh, like especially Star Wars right now.
With Star Wars, Captain Marvel, there were dudes boycotting and leaving terrible reviews before it came out, before they had anything to do with it, because of attachment. There were people that had issues with Black Panther. There were people that had issues, go back to Star Wars. Black stormtrooper, oh my god, because in their minds, we didn't know what the stormtroopers looked like.
No, other clone troopers, yes.
Maybe they all look like
troopers, no.
Yeah.
And there are female stormtroopers too.
Right, but that attachment that people had and held so tightly to, or if you say, I haven't experienced this anymore because I'm getting older and I don't care anymore. But, for a woman that's into sci-fi or comics or something like that to say, hey, I really like sci-fi, I really like comics, and then to immediately be like, oh yeah? We'll name 3,000 things about it to prove that you're really into it. Right, because the attachment is that this is for men. This is for boys. Sci-fi is for boys, and superheroes are for boys. And you can't have a female superhero because the superhero has to be a man. So why did you make this movie about a woman? Right. But then on the other side of that, with the similar attachment that we have, if I go see that movie, I'm probably going to, in my head, be fighting the whole time for her to be perfect. Yeah, I'm going to need for her to be strong and smart and brave and do all of the things and probably not fall in love with anybody because I have that attachment.
Are you talking about Captain Marvel?
I haven't seen it yet, but I mean just like any movie where there's a strong female character. Like, if we're going to talk Marvel, like so many things about Black Widow drove me crazy because I'm like, you give her 2 seconds in the movie and you make her really just like the hot chick for most of the time. And you could have, and then she becomes a love interest.
I'm going to barge in right here, everyone, and tell you about CS Coffee, our very first sponsor. CS Coffee is 100% Arabica instant coffee. They also have 100% compostable packaging, which provides environmentally conscious convenience. This is perfect for the office, the trail, and for fitness. Simply mix it with 16 ounces of hot water to make hot coffee, or you can even blend it with your favorite protein shake. Order online today at CSinstant.coffee and use the code TREE at checkout for 20% off. Now, back to Burg and Lauren.
Personally, so I'm not going to give anything away about Captain Marvel.
Okay.
Because here's the thing, is everything that you can talk about in Captain Marvel is a giveaway. Like, literally you can't talk about it. Once you see it, you'll understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
But I think that you're really going to enjoy it. All of your concerns, I think, will be squashed. Mm-hmm. And I think that, the one thing that I will say is that at the end of the movie, I was like, she's stronger than Superman. And I started crying because I was like, little girls are going to grow up with her.
Okay, that's the piece that's important to me. Yeah. When people it's usually the internet, because that's where most nerds live, in some way or another.
Because we can't leave the house. It's nuts.
This nerd rage, this male nerd rage over the female characters, and this is a conversation that I've had before. It's not about them. Maybe it's not for them. Just talking about before, the fact that, it can be for them. It's not that these movies are only made for women, but my God, just the representation. And that's another piece of it too, is thinking about who did we have growing up? We had very, very limited.
Yeah, I had Superman and Supergirl. So I'm 43, and so Supergirl, kind of I appreciated it, but it was kind of lame. Yeah. And it was a second long.
And then it's Supergirl.
Right. And she was in high school, so arguably, she wasn't over 18 or whatever.
Right.
And then, I had Superwoman, but like, Linda Carter was such an unattainable person. As far as like, what this could do.
I wasn't sitting around thinking like, I could pull that up.
She's in this outfit, like her waist is like this.
She's basically in a bathing suit.
Yes.
And boots.
Yes. And there was no way that I was ever going to look like that. I wanted to.
Right. And then that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, but I love the fact that they cast Brie Larson. First of all, I'll admit, I didn't really know who she was.
Yeah, I'm super familiar with her.
No, but her body is normal. She's a normal body. She's not too skinny. She's just, I feel like I look like Brie Larson.
Right.
Vaguely. That's an attainable superhero to me.
Right.
And, she's got a lot of just wonderful qualities, so I'm going to stop talking about that. But I think that some aspects of these new female characters we're getting in Star Wars and Marvel and all of that, even in Spider-Verse, we got, we've got the female character in that too. I think it's valuable for both sides, for men and women, and I think obviously there's a lot of conversation about transgender roles in these things as well, because we've got, you're either a strong male character, you're a strong female character too.
There's nothing in between.
But I think that it's a valuable conversation for us to have about, on the female side, what do we expect out of our female superheroes?
Right.
What are men expecting out of women, humans, us, and the superheroes? What's wrong with having strong female characters?
Right. What is the attachment to having the female characters not be strong?
Right.
Why are we getting so much pushback on, the fact that there are even women playing these roles? It's like 2019. Why are people, and it's not that it's necessarily even much older people too that grew up with specific gender norms. It's some younger folks too.
Yes.
So it's some social conditioning, but it almost makes you wonder where these attachments are coming from, these ideas of masculinity and femininity, and the attachment, the strong attachment to them.
And here's my thing, and I've kind of been saying this for a while now, just about like the gender role of men bring home the bacon, women stay home and clean. That's kind of switched in my household.
It is in a lot of homes.
And here's the thing, like talking about what we've put, what society, and not just women, but men have done this to themselves too, is what society has put on men. So society has done a lot to women as well, but what society has put on men, the expectations on men, it's like, my question is, guys, don't you sometimes want to be saved, guys? Life's
what's hard. Put in 50% less effort.
Let's share the load.
And that's all we're getting at, I think. And it's not that and I think that's the thing that a lot of these folks have a hard time with, is it's not that anybody's saying superheroes are now only women.
Right.
And women are going to be in all of the roles of every movie.
Right.
It's like, no, we're just asking for 50-50 at least.
Yeah, because I still want to see Thor. Number one, he's hot, and number two, he's funny.
He's so funny.
Yes, and I want people to save the day too.
Right.
I would like, some of the effort taken off of my plate sometimes.
I think an excellent example, and I talk about this a lot, is Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh my God, yes.
That movie
I love Furiosa. Oh my God.
That movie nailed it. The relationship between Furiosa and Max is perfection.
I agree.
Because they have to work together, and they do, and they both save each other at different points.
Yeah.
And in the end, it's actually her that's being kind of promoted to power, and he kind of allows her to do that and steps back. That doesn't mean that he's gonna go, you know, sit in a corner somewhere and just do nothing. I mean, we're probably hopefully gonna see more, but just the way that that was laid out, I think was absolutely perfect, and I think that more movies should strive for that.
Yes.
Another reason Last Jedi bothered me with the Rose and Ben thing. Let's not do that. Let's not do that to ourselves. We were going on a positive note. But I think that that was an unnecessary thing. I enjoyed the fact that Finn and Rey initially were equals working together.
Yes.
And I think that Rose kind of like threw a wrench in that by adding in a romance.
And here's my problem.
And is that an attachment? I don't know.
but here's the thing though. I mean, we saw for a little bit that, so Finn coming out of nowhere, having essentially no real relationships.
Right.
First pretty girl, he's like that's
she's
really
strong. She's beating people up. This is great.
So there was a potential for there to be a relationship, and I think he was trying a little bit, and she's like, I gotta get home to Jakku.
Yeah.
She's like, which was cool. So it was kind of like unexpected and unbelievable for me.
Yeah.
And nowhere in Force Awakens and nowhere in Last Jedi did I ever feel that like, oh, something's blossoming between these two. And then all of a sudden like they're kissing and I'm like, what? I never felt it.
I didn't either. I did not feel that he felt that way towards her. She was obviously enthralled by him just for who he was.
I thought it was like hero
But then she
worship.
still zapped him. She still tased him and took him out. So I didn't, it was just not any of that.
Yeah.
But Mad Max Fury Road, really, really excellent example. I've seen that movie so many times. I feel like whatever the formula for that was is kind of exactly the direction we need. Because I sometimes when I think about these things or I talk about them, it sounds like I hate romance and that I hate love and that I think it's all stupid and pointless. But there was ultimately a love-like relationship between those two that was built on survival for one, but also respect. And I think that is kind of what we need. I think that's what we're looking for. We're not looking for this attachment to a specific male role, a specific female role, how they should interact. So when something like that happens, I mean, my God, look at Furiosa. I mean, taking just grease and smearing it on her head. She's got one arm and she's, I think that's kind of more what we need. It doesn't have to all be that.
No.
But we need to see more of that, I think, represented so that we can let go of these, I think, harmful attachments.
Yeah. And I think that it's, to your point about like relationships, I mean, so not that I have a perfect relationship because we certainly don't, but Erin is my best friend. And I think that, we're friends and we work well together and we have this mutual respect.
Yeah.
And like I'm vulnerable and I've got weaknesses and vulnerabilities and so does he, and we like bolster each other up.
That's what I think the whole point is.
Yeah. And it doesn't make it any easier and it doesn't make it certainly better, but I mean that I think that you're right. Like that example is, I mean, if they were to take that relationship with Max and Furiosa to some sort of romantic thing, I suppose. Like, I mean, I don't need it.
I don't want it.
Yeah, I don't. I think it's probably unnecessary in that it doesn't make any sense.
Right. There would be no
for them
for it. Yeah.
But I think it is a good way to start a relationship. And as a matter of fact, they're doubles in the movies. They're stunt doubles. Got married.
What?
Yeah.
That's the best thing I've ever heard.
Right? Yeah. So they're human versions of themselves are actually together.
See, and I think that the more we can let go of attachment, the more that we can just blossom into who we really want to be, maybe who we're meant to be, into the relationships that we want without these attachments to specific things. So it goes just even deeper than your yoga practice or how you look, and into just who you are.
Yeah.
And letting go of those attachments in other people too.
Yeah.
There's an idea of unconditional love, and I think very, 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 very few of us have true unconditional love. We all have in our head, whether we realize it or not, conditions for loving the people in our lives.
True.
And if they deviate from that, then we feel like, I'm mad at them, I don't like them right now, or I hate them right now, or I don't love them right now. And that is our attachment to who they should be. So I think even letting go of the attachments to, except for like our dogs and our cats, I think that we can love them unconditionally. Like my dog can roll in the mud after having a bath, and I could be so angry, but I will still look at her and I will tell her she's perfect and beautiful, and I'm a little bit angry because she's gonna get another bath, but still totally
What if we
unconditional.
could do that with our humans?
I think that that's a really good lesson, actually, because my cat can do some of the just rudest stuff. Just rude things.
Yes.
Like reading a book, she sticks her head under the book, pushes the book out, and lays on her face. And I'm like, oh no, I guess I'm done reading.
We were actually talking this morning because our little cat Sarah is like, she's crazy. Like, she runs in the room, she does this, she hops to the side, she picks up her paw, and then she like piss bolts outside, and you just hear like crazy shit going on in the backyard.
Yeah.
And then she like piss tears through the cat door, and we're like, what if a human did that?
Right. I would hate that human. That human would be a terrorist.
You need to calm the hell down, human. But that's funny because it's like, I mean, this is how she's being her authentic self. This is how she shows love. Like, she comes up, she's like, I love you now, I'm gonna do this. And that's great. Like,
and we don't, we kind of conform to whatever they want. Yeah, but with our humans, it's like, okay, I have this idea in my head of how my partner is, or how my siblings are, how my parents are, and if they deviate from my attachment, I think that's really common with parents too.
Yeah.
We, as children, we don't believe that they're real people, and we have an attachment to them is different than they actually are. So then as we get older, it's harder to acknowledge some of those things.
oh yeah, I mean, when my mom was going through all of her, through dementia and stuff, the very first thing that I had to deal with was, I just need to accept that she's never going to be the mom that I wanted her to be.
Right.
And that was hard.
With something like dementia, which my husband, I think I've described that he has a brain injury. When he was recovering, he was not himself for a very, very long time, and that was a very difficult thing to wrap my head around, because I had an attachment to who he was. And if you've got a brain injury, depending on how long it takes you to recover, or to what extent you recover, you might not be like you were before.
Right.
And it might be temporary, it might be forever. And that attachment was really difficult, because, and probably in the same way, if they're not speaking the way that you're attached to, if they're not acting or behaving the way that you're attached to, it throws everything off, and it can be devastating. But once you kind of give into maybe like a new norm, or lose that attachment, you can start to appreciate other things, or I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, and that's exactly it. And I think I think just what you said is sort of like, in my mind, sort of like the answer to the whole non-attachment thing is, you know, releasing your attachments from something and saying, okay, right now, this is how it is.
Yes.
You know, not necessarily like, okay, this is life now, or this is really normal, but kind of like, okay, this thing is how it is. Let me inspect it, how it is right now. My breath, my pose, my Star Wars movie.
Yeah. Even if you get a cold.
Yeah.
I get very, very angry if I'm sick.
Yeah.
Because I'm so attached to my health.
Yeah.
And I value that. We all value our health. But to even have that little setback, instead of just going, okay,
Right.
This is what's happening. This is temporary. That's another piece of attachment, is that everything is temporary. Everything's constantly changing. So attachment is pointless. It's not going to get you anywhere. Nothing is solid or concrete. So in those moments, to sit and go, okay, this is what this is right now. What do I do now? What do I do in this exact moment with this, the way things are? It's that next step is even more important, I think.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think we've really, I like our conversation there.
Yeah,
I think that went well. We did go deep. We touched a lot on topics. So I guess, what are some questions for you? Like, so are there some characters in movies or comic books or anything like that where you feel, have they challenged your attachment to things, like characters who have been rewritten? I mean, because we've got a lot of, not just sequels, but we've got redos of things.
Oh, yeah.
The difference between Wolverine in the comic book versus in the movie, he's not the same.
Right.
You're overly attached to that.
Right, or a sequel, or like the reboots of things. I have a hard time with most of those because I have a hard time letting go of the previous thing, especially if it was something good.
Yeah.
But then there are some examples of things that were maybe better, like back to Mad Max. I grew up with those movies, and when they had kind of that reiteration, I was like, uh-oh, what's going to happen? And it just ended up being amazing. So that's an example of, when it ended up being a good thing. But yeah, curious about that. Like a character or a movie or something where you had a hard time with your attachment to them. Maybe Harry Potter as he got older. How did you feel?
Or even
as he
like
changed?
the new Harry Potter movies themselves. I mean, I love them, but maybe not everybody does.
Right. Yeah.
I could probably go on, and we won't, but I could probably go on about Johnny Depp. Not real thrilled about that.
I know.
I think I don't know that that's an attachment thing. I actually think that I'm firmly detached from Johnny Depp in Grindelwald. I didn't really want him in there.
Right, I know. And I think that's something to think about too, is realizing with our attachments, especially to humans, that they are human. And that humans are capable of doing some pretty shitty stuff. And realizing what that means. So even thinking about things like Johnny Depp as a person versus some of the characters he's played, or I can think of at this point a billion others. There are lists. But just to learn those things and think, okay, so what does this mean for all of these other people, these other attachments that I may have to people?
But then the flip side, Rose, leave that actress alone. My God, just because you don't like Rose, leave that poor actress alone. She had to go off
of the internet. Natalie Portman's career was like trashed after
Yes.
I mean, I think she's made a comeback, but people gave her such a hard time. The guy that was Jar Jar Binks, I don't like Jar Jar Binks either. But he was like getting death threats and things like that.
I mean, come on, nerds.
Like, nerds are, okay, speaking as a nerd, nerds are the worst.
Yeah, we gotta be better.
It's like, we talk about people that are like physically violent. Nerds are mean with their words.
Yes.
Like, okay, this is definitely a nerdy thing. So 30 Rock, Liz Lemon. So she had this idea in her head, this attachment, that she grew up as this outcast and nobody really noticed her, nobody really liked her. Well, cut to her high school reunion, Jack goes with her and we learned that she was a jerk. She was a straight up jerk. Throughout all of high school, she was sarcastic, she was mean, but she built up this idea in her head that she was so misunderstood and she didn't want to go to a reunion because nobody liked her. Turns out nobody liked her because she was a mean nerd. So check yourself, nerds, self-included.
Yes, I mean, it's true. Like, if everybody's an asshole, you're probably the asshole.
Right, and being a nerd doesn't give you a pass to be mean.
No.
Because I think there's some of that too, like, oh, well, I'm just a nerd, I'm just into comics and sci-fi, so I just gotta put up this wall so that these big, muscly, whoever, like the football player stereotype isn't gonna beat me up, so I'm gonna be mean on the internet.
And nerds can be bullies too.
They are! They're some of the big...
Yep, nerds are trolls. Sorry, it's an internet bully.
Right. So stop it.
Yeah.
Take home. Stop it.
Right.
Don't get so attached to stuff that you need the characters and the people and the women and the men to be a certain way.
Yes.
And then as a result, you're a turd.
I love the word turd.
I do too.
That's a great way to end.
Yes.
All right. Yes, don't be a turd. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please click like or subscribe. And we'll see you next time. May the force be with you.
Yes. May the force be with you.